Hey guys, so there you have it. 7 out of 7 Ubers. I did it on my Volcanic Fissure Ancestral Commander, and this build was so awesome that I needed to make a video about it. So here's my character. I got to level 100. This is my second character. My first character I died to Maven memory game like a bozo, but I went back again and I farmed and farmed and farmed, made it to level 100, and this skill, Volcanic Fissure, is just so cool that I couldn't stop playing it. I was addicted. So I'll show you guys my character and my gear, and hopefully we get some Phrecia private league stuff in the future that maybe we can actually play this build again. And so here you go. This Settler's Weapon enchant is kind of what makes the build really powerful, though. So if we don't have if we have Phrecia mods, but we don't have Settlers League, that's going to make the build possibly a lot worse, because this Mace enchant is like incredibly powerful. It goes from 30 up to 50% extra damage of every element. So this is like 100 and up to 150% more damage, basically, this enchant. But the Mace, you just want fizz attack speed, and then you can guarantee the Culling Strike with a Warlord Orb if you do cannot roll attack slam on a suffix, as long as you have all attack mods on the rest of it like this. So this weapon's pretty cool. I made this with recombinators. I had Merciless on the... When I was recomming, I had Merciless too, but I lost it to the recom. But then I was able to salvage it with a Veiled Orb. And so this weapon turned out to be very, very good still. And there you go. That's it. The rest of my gear is all really good too. The helmet, I have suppression and defenses, a little bit of res, crafted life. The helmet's not very good compared to the rest of my items because I was intentionally not trying to get very much stuff on the helmet in case I dropped Echoes of Creation. And I'll talk a little bit more about that item later. The amulet I made with recoms. It's just attributes, res, life, and damage. It's a very strong amulet. The Admonisher Anoint gives you damage per Warcry recently, which is insanely good. And then Warcry Speed is also very good for the 2 Warcries that you self-cast. Makes them go off a lot faster. This ring, I got another Warlord Orb to slam on this ring. This ring is Chaos Res Int, which this Int solves all the Int on the build. You don't really need that much Int on the build. And then life, damage, and then the Warlord Slam was AoE. Pretty much Warlord ring prefixes are all good. There's AoE, there's fire damage, there's melee damage, and there's I can't remember what the other one is, but they're all good. Other ring is res dex res with life and damage. I recommed this ring, turned out really nice. You do need a lot of dex on this build to be able to use a Conquest Lamellar if you're doing suppression. If you're going for suppression, then you need hybrid gear, and if you're using hybrid gear, then you pretty much have to use a Conquest Lamellar because it's the best base. So here's my chest. You can use the Endurance Charge, reduce damage from crits, Essence mod, which is from Essence of Horror. I recommed that with suppression. And then once I had those two, I actually did Reforge Fizz to get the PDR, and I got lucky there. I think I hit Reflect Fizz on the prefix also, but then I was able to fix the prefixes with Reforge Life, and it took me about 10 Reforge Lives to hit these mods, and so I kept these prefixes, which are pretty good. And then Max Res and Fizz Taken Ass for the implicits. Chest is insanely good. And then the gloves, suppress Chaos Res attack speed. I did Reforge Speed to get this attack speed. After, I think I just did Reforge Chaos to hit this maybe. Or maybe I recommed Chaos Res and Suppression, I don't remember. And then Reforge Speed and then Reforge Life for the prefix. And then Cold Conversion is very important for Trinity. So because of this enchant, you can use Trinity because Volcanic Fissure of Snaking has 60% fire conversion, and so if you get 40 to 45% cold conversion, that's enough to make Trinity work because of the extra damage that you get from the enchant. It'll balance out your cold damage just enough for Trinity to work. And so gloves are really good. Belt is Chaos Res with big life and big LE damage. And then you need this Warcries Cannot Exert Travel Skills craft. You can put that on a belt suffix or a ring. So I decided to put it on the belt because my rings were both already done pretty much. And then there's another place you can get it too, which is a Warcry Mastery right here. Warcries cannot exert travel skills, but it's better to put it on an item, I think, because you have to take this wheel here, and you also have to take this minimum power mastery, because that's what allows your Warcries to automatically generate you charges with mob mentality. So mob mentality is another mandatory node. This makes your Warcries just passively grant you charges, and it gives you a charge up time for bossing. But anyway, because you need to have this wheel, the only other place to get the exert mastery is this other Warcry wheel over here. But this Warcry wheel is not nearly as good because these stats aren't really important. And so this is kind of like 4 wasted points just to get that cannot exert travel skills mastery. So I put it on the belt, and anyway, moving on. The boots are suppression, life, res, pretty solid boots. The fizz is extra cold on the boots, also helps the Trinity work and have your cold damage be balanced. And that's the gear. Flasks, penetration tincture with increased effect, tier 1. This is like double damage when this tincture's up pretty much. This tincture is so insane. And then just armor, shock, curse effect, basalt, granite, sulfur flasks. I was swapping those out for rarity flasks the majority of the time when I was playing the game. You can also just swap in item rarity for Trinity, like while you're mapping, and get all the extra gold juice. And that's the character, and items at least. So here's the passive tree. If you go suppression, you don't have access to any suppression on the tree pretty much on this left side because all the suppression is like over here and over here. But you can use small clusters to solve the suppression. So these clusters here have notables called Elegant Form, and then there's Untouchable. Both of these are really good. They give you 10 suppression. The Avoid Ailments is a little helpful if you stack it, but I'm not really stacking it. So I think Untouchable is actually the better node. And so you can get 5 from the small nodes if you craft these with increased effect. So 25 increased effect makes the 4 turn into 5. And so then this is 10, 15, 20 suppressed from this one small cluster here. And then this one over here is 15. And that puts me at exactly 100 suppression because I'm using the helmet. If I wasn't using this helmet and I had Echoes of Creation, then I would have to have another small cluster, like a third small cluster. And they'd probably all have to be 3 points too. And then another reason I'm able to suppress cap is because I have 2 suppressed tattoos over here. So that gives me another 4%. Without these tattoos, I wouldn't be suppress capped either. And then the large cluster here is Overlord one. Overlord gives you Fortify with mace hits. So this is another reason why mace is so strong, because you can get Fortify for free there instead of having to take this wheel here to get it. If you play Axe in the beginning, you can just get it from this wheel here, it is strong, but it's 5 points just for Fortify, which is not ideal. Or you could use Fortify support, but that's also not ideal. So Overlord is the best. These clusters are very, very hard and annoying to craft, though. I had one that I tried to fracture the Overlord on so I could make a better one. I didn't hit it. And then I had to spend like 12 hours farming another cluster jewel, and that was a nightmare. But eventually we got it back. And yeah, so the cluster is insanely good. The ideal cluster with Overlord would be one with Fuel the Fight or Feed the Fury here on this other node. That's what I was trying to make, because if you get one with Feed the Fury or Fuel the Fight, then you don't have to have it down here, basically. So the other cluster is just a Feed and Fuel one, basically, because you have to have Leech somewhere. Because all your damage is converted to elemental. You don't have any fizz damage. That means you can't use Blood Rage for Leech. You can't use... you have to get your Leech somewhere, basically. So if you get Fuel or Feed on the Overlord jewel, then you can make a jewel down here that doesn't... Then you won't need this, and you can save these 2 points, basically. And so that's what I was trying to do. But 2 extra points wasted here. And then the other mediums here is Mob Mentality, Lead by Example. This one is the mandatory one. This Mob Mentality gives you your charge generation. So you'll have all your charges up all the time, even for bossing, because of all your Warcries going off. And then Lead by Example gives you permanent onslaught. So that's insane, this one. This other medium I have here, this one is optional. Warning Call just gives you a little bit more armor. So you can see my armor goes from 31k up to 42k whenever actually 51k. Oh no, that's flasks actually. What am I talking about? 51k with flasks, and then when I Warcry it goes up to 61k. So you can see it's almost as much as having like flasks up, like another 30% more armor or 25% armor or whatever. It's really strong. And then Cry Wolf is just damage, which is also good. So this medium is good, but it is optional. And then I have max res jewels times 4. So that's how I have 84 and 86 res. I was harvest swapping these when I did the Ubers so that I had 90 res for whichever Uber I was doing. And then I also have the max res wheel here and the other max res wheel here. So that's how the max res is so high. And then, of course, we have 9 endurance charges from the Ancestral Commander Ascendancy, which is just, it makes you so tanky, it's ridiculous. And then the other 3 on the tree. So 1, 2, and 3. And then the Warcry cooldown recovery rate node here is kind of what makes this build work a lot, because this is what gives you your exertion uptime. Without this node, your Warcries would take too long to go off, and then most of your attacks would not be exerted, and it wouldn't be nearly as strong. And then Defiance of Destiny makes you like immortal to small damage, which is crazy. And then this one makes you immune to freeze and chill and gives you tons of body armor. So that's how I'm able to have a POB with all my charges up and everything. I have like 90k armor, which is just really strong. And that's the tree. I think that's the character. The rest of my jewels are just attack speed life on this one, and then my other one has attack speed life with a little bit of dex. The dex is tight. And yeah, that's the passive tree. That's the character. Build is insanely good. I had a lot of fun. In POB, I'll show you a couple of things here. So my damage in POB is with low life, because this is punishment uptime. It's 33 million without punishment, and then 47 million with punishment. And that's assuming you can triple hit with Volcanic Fissure. So Volcanic Fissure, the way it works is you hit the ground with it. I'll just come here and show you it. You hit the ground. You can target the ground anywhere you want, and then the Volcanic Fissure will like fissure out and then explode wherever you hit. And so if you're fighting a boss, you can, if this logo here is the boss, you can aim behind the boss, and then the boss will get hit by the fissure part, this part right here. And then the explosion AoE, because we have such big AoE from Seismic Cry, the explosion AoE will actually hit the target a second time, and then the Volcanic Fissure will snake back and then actually hit the target for like target the target and hit it a third time. So you can hit once, twice, 3 times if you position and aim properly. So Volcanic Fissure of snaking is just so insanely powerful. And then with quality, you get an extra chain basically. So normally it only chains twice, but then if you get quality, it chains 3 times. So while you're clearing, this is just so good because it just snakes everywhere and kills everything automatically, and it auto targets too, which is, it's so insanely powerful. It's amazing. I hit the 21-23 double corrupt on this gem, which was cool. And then the main links is Trinity, Overexertion, which is Overexertion is like 90% more damage or something because of having 5 Warcries up. And the 5 Warcries I'll talk about in a second. Melee Fizz, Endurance Charge on Stun, and then Pulverize for big damage and AoE. Endurance Charge one is, this one could be replaced with like LA damage with attacks, Awakened LA damage with attacks, but I never got it. But this one is still 36% more damage with 9 charges, so it's still a really strong gem. And then for the Warcries, you have to auto-exert them for them to feel good. You auto-exert Intimidating Cry, which gives you double damage, like on pretty much every attack almost. And then Seismic Cry gives you massive AoE. And then Battle Mage's Cry gives you another exert, and which gives you more overexertion damage. And then it also gives you punishment, like curse on hit, basically. So Battle Mage's Cry linked to punishment means whenever your exerted attacks hit something, they trigger a supported spell, which would be the curse. So punishment is like curse on hit with Battle Mage's Cry. It's pretty awesome. And then this is just a 5 link. And then the last one here is just War Banner. War Banner is just a little extra damage. And then the rest of my gems, we have Urgent Orders on Rallying and Infernal. These are the 2 that you self-cast. And those are big damage if you get buff from hitting something with them. Rallying Cry gives you more damage, and then Infernal Cry gives you Fizz as extra fire from the buff. And then Infernal Cry also gives you Combust, which gives you like explosions when you hit stuff, so it makes your clear even better. And then just link that to Life Tap, which this is kind of optional depending on your mana. You can do another one of these non-channeling crafts, and then your Warcries will be like free pretty much. And then Herald of Purity for more damage, and then Blood and Sand for more damage, and then Molten Shell, which I had more duration on just for when I was doing the Ubers. You can do cast 1 damage taken there if you want. And then the last gems is just Leap Slam, faster attacks, and then Blood Rage and Frostblink for mobility and stuff. And yeah, that's the gems. So last thing I think I'll cover in the POB is like the ridiculous trade league shenanigans stuff you can do. So the best weapon you can possibly do is not a pile driver. It's a Impact Force Propagator, something like this from Heist, because it gives you 2 additional exerts, which gives you like 100% exert uptime for overexertion and for Echoes of Creation. So this weapon would be 57% more damage if I had it. And then the helmet, Echoes of Creation, would be 73% more damage because this gives you more damage per exertion, basically. But this drops from Uber Shaper, and I did Uber Shaper twice and didn't get it. But if you had this, it would be just absolutely insanity amounts of damage. But you would have to fix your suppression if you didn't have suppression on the helmet. But it would probably be worth it for that damage. And then the other thing would be good is Yoke. Yoke would give you big shocks and then a lot more damage too. So if you had all those and then probably like 50 shock from Yoke. You can shock even without Yoke though. With this inversion wheel right here, you get chance to shock. And then because you're doing so much lightning damage from the weapon enchant, you do get good shocks already without Yoke. But if you had Yoke, your damage would just push into absolute insanity territory. So that's how you can min-max the build. Your attributes will be in big trouble though without the attributes on the amulet, or at least mine would. I got most of my attributes from the amulet, so you'd have to fix the dexterity, especially elsewhere, if you had a Yoke. But yeah, I think that's it for the character. I had a ton of fun on this hardcore SSF run. We did the 7 out of 7, and Phrecia League is about to end, unfortunately. I wish they would extend it again and just until 326 comes out, because there's other Phrecia builds that I still would like to play, like Blind Prophet and Scavenger especially. But looks like this is going to be the end of it, so I'm going to move on to probably finish Valheim, and maybe after that I'll start playing PoE 2 and get into the Huntress Spear stuff. But until then, yeah, it's been a ton of fun in Phrecia. So for those of you who followed along, I appreciate you. And if we get some private leagues for Phrecia, I will definitely be playing this build again, maybe in the future. And I'll link a POB in the description if you guys want to check that out for the future too. And yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you next time.